Today is Trinity Sunday. It is one of the 7 great feast days of the church. And by Trinity Sunday, we mean that the church has set aside this Sunday to especially reverence the great mystery that we call the Holy Trinity, the one true God who is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And today in our worship, we will join together in baptism. In the baptismal liturgy, you will see all the way through a very strong and continual Trinitarian emphasis. Austin, you and Mia will be baptized in the name of the Trinity, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. This is the name of God given to us as Christians. It is by the mercy of this Trinity that we are saved. It is through our relationship with the Trinity that our lives are transformed. It is to the very presence of the Trinity that we expect to awaken after death. From the dawn of human history, human beings have been seeking after God. In creation, human beings were blessed with an awareness of the invisible reality of something holy, which is greater than all. People, as far back as history goes, have rightly felt the need to worship some great reality, some great being, some great creator. And through this worship, we have sought some explanation for life, for all that lives and moves and has its being. So today, in the first lesson, the Old Testament lesson, a very long lesson, we heard, and I'm going to mention only 4 words of that long reading. We heard the very first words of the Bible. In the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. These are words that we call revelation. They are inspired. They come to us from beyond us. These 4 words, received ages ago, begin the great explanation which finally ends with the Trinity. In the beginning, God. Surely, the reason for life lies with God. And God, we discover in the fullness of time, is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. In this understanding, we are baptized as Christians. But we didn't get this at the first. Historically, we didn't understand it. In ancient times, sin was like it is now, running the world. And people were inescapably grasped by it and could not shake free. At Mount Sinai, God gave the human race a new revelation, a great revelation. It was a world-changing revelation. The 10 Commandments. Living according to the commandments, being guided by that moral law, could have been the answer to human sin, but it was not. Because the people of Israel were like all people, unable to pull off a way of life that was obedient and that worked. They were unable to agree with one another and live in peace. They were unable to truly love God or their neighbor. It's not that they were unaware of God. Israel was very aware of God, but was even trying to love God, which is just like us. That's why we're gathered here today. But they didn't understand God. They didn't understand particularly His love. They were afraid of God. They didn't trust Him. And when push came to shove, the chosen people would turn away from God and take life into their own hands. They broke the commandments. Their hearts became hard. They became lost from God. God sent prophet after prophet to call Israel back to Him, but to no avail. The prophet Jeremiah cried out in his frustration, "The human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it?" But in the fullness of time, Jesus of Nazareth brought a new revelation. He was a new revelation. He was like no one ever before or since. He was human like us, but He understood our hearts. He knew we were sick. He knew we were desperate. He had compassion for us. He wanted to heal us. He gave us hope. And Jesus' hope was completely in God. He called Him Father. And He said for us to trust God as if He were the most loving of fathers. He did not emphasize God's wisdom like the scribes and the rabbis. He did not emphasize God's power like the Pharisees and the leaders of Israel. Jesus overwhelmingly concentrated on God's goodness. So is God good? Unbelievably so. More than we know. Is life good? On the sixth day, I'm catching myself in a lie. I said I was going to deal with 4 words. On the sixth day, God saw everything that He had made, and behold, it was very good. And God wants life to be good for us. With Jesus, His disciples gradually began to understand this new revelation. God's goodness as Father was being lived out by Jesus. Philip said to Jesus, "Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied." And Jesus said to him, "Have I been with you so long, and you don't know me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father." And having shown Himself to us, the Son then returned to the Father. And we were left with memories, with stories, with teachings. Jesus had said to His disciples, "I will not leave you desolate." But on Ascension Day, that is just what He did. I know it was awful. He returned to the Father. And sometimes that is just how we feel. Desolate and alone. Like one of Willie Nelson's Cowboys. You know that song? Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't let them ride horses and drive them old trucks like Father Ray. Teach them to be doctors and lawyers and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Because they never get grown. And they're always alone. Even with someone they love. The disciples remembered that Jesus had also said, "It is to your advantage that I go away. For if I do not go away, the Holy Spirit will not come to you. But if I go, I will send Him, and He will guide you into all truth." They remembered this, and we need to remember it too. It means life to us. We celebrated that stunning beginning last Sunday on the day of Pentecost. And today, we celebrate the unity of the Trinity. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, 3 in 1, 1 in 3. Andrew, don't go too far away. I'm about done. But don't leave her desolate. St. Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. This guidance by the Holy Spirit was for Paul, as it is for us, a gradual learning process. Paul says, but now as a man I understand that I don't fully understand it all. That I see through a glass darkly. This is Trinity Sunday. On this day, the glass is darker than any other day in the church here. That I only partly know about God and His goodness. But he says, but He completely knows about me. My hope as a Christian, says St. Paul, is to see God face to face and to know Him even as I am known. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know even as I am known. This experience, this Christian life of being guided by the Holy Spirit, this journey of following Jesus, this process of coming to know the goodness of the Father, begins with baptism. And this, Father, is why in joyful obedience to your Son we bring into His fellowship those who come to Him in faith, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.